It is 7:01, and I will call the October 15th, 2025 meeting of the Essex Planning Board to order. Tonight, we have a public hearing on articles proposed for the special fall town meeting on November 17th. The hearing has been advertised as required in the town clerk's office and in the Gloucester Daily Times the past 2 consecutive Mondays. I'm going to read my opening statement and then talk about, take a motion to open the hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Matt. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Beth. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The hearing is duly open. This meeting is being both recorded and broadcast by 1623, so the whole meeting is available either on 1623 on the Planning Board Zoom link and will be available after the meeting as a recording on both 1623 and the Planning Board webpage. The Planning Board operates under the provisions of the Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A Zoning, Chapter 30A, and the Open Meeting Law, and the Town of Essex Bylaws, Chapter 6, Zoning. Notification of this public hearing was published in the Gloucester Daily Times on September 29th and October 6, 2025, and satisfies the requirements for adoption or change of zoning ordinances or bylaws found in MGL Chapter 40A, Section 5, as well as the requirements for adoption or change of subdivision rules and regulations found in MGL Chapter 41, Section 81Q. 9 items will be presented at this public hearing: 1 revision to the general bylaws, and 8 revisions to the zoning bylaws, known as the Town of Essex Bylaws, Chapter 6, all for consideration at special fall town meeting on November 17, 2025. In order to conduct this hearing in the most effective manner, our process is as follows. We will consider each item individually. First, the item will be presented. Second, planning board members will have an opportunity to ask questions and then to provide any comments. Third, attending members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions, which the board will answer as necessary and appropriate. And fourth, attending members of the public will have the opportunity to provide comments. The planning board will not vote on the articles this evening. Following the close of the public hearing, the planning board will discuss the 9 articles and deliberate on any changes to be made before the submission for inclusion in the warrant, which the Board of Selectmen will vote to close on Monday, October 20th. The planning board will take its vote on the articles at its November 5th, 2025 meeting, 3 weeks from tonight. As chair, I will recognize speakers and may set time limits if necessary. Once recognized, please state your name and address for the record in accordance with Town of Essex policies. Please confine questions and comments to the items under consideration and to matters that are under the jurisdiction of this board. Although we may disagree on the issues raised, everyone present at this meeting is expected to be civil to all others present. Those who do not act in a civil manner or who engage in rude or disruptive behavior will be asked to leave. In addition, we ask that citizens inform themselves of the provision of the laws under which this board operates, particularly the Essex zoning bylaws. These and all Town of Essex bylaws are available through the town clerk and accessible on the town website. Copies of the applicable Mass General laws can be found online at www.mass.gov and by searching for relevant sections. For those of you in the room this evening, there were handouts. I'm sure you've all gotten one, I hope. And I have this up on my screen and we'll follow along. People at home can see it on the screen. And it's here for our reference as well. So the first page here has a list of the articles that we're going to be considering. And there is a note here that we have made some minor changes to the draft that was originally posted. The draft was dated September 29th, 2025, which was posted for the public hearing at the town clerk's office. Since then, we've received several comments, nothing substantive, but just sort of technical comments from town council, and we have included those in the draft that you have this evening. These are all highlighted in yellow, and the reason for this is that the way the warrant language is formatted for town meeting is that anything that is being removed from a section of the bylaw is in strike-through, and anything that's being added is in boldface. So we're out of black and white options to set these aside. So we've highlighted the things that town council has added. And I will address those as we get to them. So I said in the opening statement that we're going to address the articles one by one, but I'm actually going to talk about the first two articles together. The reason they're separate is they address different sections of the bylaw, but they are related to the same changes that we're proposing. Article 1 has asked the town to amend section 2-8, which is not part of the zoning bylaw, but it's part of the general town bylaws and is under the section where different boards and committees are established. So section 2-8 addresses the planning board, and you can see the original language here in strike-through is being deleted, including section 2-8.4 Board of Appeals, because the Board of Appeals already has a section in the zoning bylaw that provides much more detail about their roles and responsibilities. So in 2-8, the material addressing the Board of Appeals is actually redundant and not really accurate. We are taking the other sections 2-81, 2-82, 2-83 out of section 2 and adding a section into the zoning bylaw that comes in Article 2 that addresses the duties and responsibilities of the planning board. In lieu of the material that we're deleting here, what is in the boldface paragraph at the bottom talks about the applicable mass general laws that require a town to establish a planning board and also provide the regulations that govern the creation of a zoning board of appeals. So the boldface language at the end here is what we're adding to section 2-8 and taking out what's there. So then moving to the next article where the new language migrates, this is in section 6-10 that addresses the planning board, the establishment of the planning board in the zoning section. So this boldface language is what's being added and is basically a repetition of what we deleted with a few other items that are considered typical duties of the planning board. If there's any desire by anyone, I can walk through these in more detail. However, it's really fairly standard material. In addition, 6-10.3 Board of Appeals is already established in the bylaw. We haven't repeated here in the warrant because that would be redundant, but there already is a section not unlike what we're adding for the planning board that details the Board of Appeals duties. So that's why I was saying what was in 2-8 in the previous article is in fact redundant and incorrect compared to what is newer material that's in chapter 6. So it's a little confusing. It's really a housekeeping article, and it's just trying to provide consistency in the zoning bylaw with the roles and responsibilities of both the planning board and the ZBA. The strike-through in yellow there is the portion that town council has recommended we remove. It doesn't mean that the material won't be accessible. It just means that that does not need to be memorialized in the bylaw. So that's why we're taking that out. Material still will be there. Then there is one section from 6-2, which is 6-283 here, which is the board review for new streets. So we have added that into additional requirements, which is another section of the bylaw where this sits more appropriately than it would, because it's talking about creation of new streets and not roles and responsibilities. So those are the changes. This article, the second article, addresses what's getting added to chapter 6 in place of what's being deleted from chapter 2 in article 1. So, that said, I will ask the planning board if they have comments or questions on any of this, or if there's something they would like to add that helps clarify what I've explained.
I have a question.
Sure.
What if, because town meeting can be interesting, what if Article 1 passes and Article 2 does not for some reason? Would we consider, I mean, we could add everything to Article 2 without theoretically changing Article 1. It would just be redundant. So should we consider switching the order of those, or are we confident if 1 passes, 2 would also pass?
I would say that's highly likely. It's not a bad idea to maybe change the article so we add it in before we take it out, which kind of makes sense, I guess. We hadn't really talked about that, but we'll discuss that after the fact, but it may make more sense. The reason my understanding was that they're 2 separate articles is because we're talking about 2 different bylaw sections. But it may make sense to do the add and then do the delete.
I assume they'd both pass, but I guess there's a chance.
Town meeting, any given night. So who knows? Yeah, but after we close the hearing, we're going to talk about these articles and finalize any changes that we want to make, because it's the selectmen. Teresa's going to finalize everything between Friday actually, and pass it on to the selectmen for signing on Monday night. Any other questions or comments on this one?
None here.
Could you just point out about the ZBA support?
Oh, right. We did, we are making changes to the regulations that govern the ZBA, and we have run those past Meg Nelson, who is the chair of the ZBA, and she's fine with the changes and understands our motivation for making them. So there's no conflicts there with the Board of Appeals. Members of the public in attendance, any comments or questions on these 2 articles?
Madam Chair, Brendan Zabricki, Town Administrator.
I recognize you.
Articles 1 and 2, you could ask the moderator to join the discussion of those 2 articles. That might be a strategy that you want to employ since they are so related. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I didn't realize we could do that, and we will definitely do that and ask to consider them together, because they really are kind of a package deal. They just happen in different chapters. Thank you. Any other comments, questions on that? Moving right along to Article 3. This article asks if the town will consider the membership and organization of the planning board, and we're asking in this to add 2 associate members. So the planning board shall consist of 7 duly elected members, and in boldface here, and 2 appointed associate members as provided in MGL Chapter 48, Section 9. The term of office for the members shall be 5 years, and the term of office for associate members shall be 3 years. Town Council has recommended the language to be added that's highlighted and in bold here, that says associate members may be designated by the chair to sit on the board for the purposes of acting on a special permit application in the case of absence, inability to act, or conflict of interest on the part of any member of the planning board, or in the event of a vacancy on the board. So the reason that we're asking for this is specifically what's stated in the sentence added by Town Council, and that is to sit in on special permit decisions. The regulations that surround a special permit application require a supermajority vote, meaning 5 of 7 members voting in favor of granting a special permit. In addition, planning board members who are going to vote need to attend all of the sessions of any public hearing that have been held, and sometimes, as we've seen, public hearings can continue over several meetings. So if a planning board member is going to miss one meeting, they're allowed to make that up either by reading the minutes or preferably watching the Zoom recording, which we would record if we had someone missing. If you miss more than, you can't make up more than one meeting, so if a planning board member were to miss another meeting, they would not be qualified to vote on that special permit decision. The complication with special permits is that if the planning board is unable to have a quorum of vote to be able to vote on the permit, it is by default approved. So if we ever run into a situation where we don't have the quorum, we don't get the votes, something like that, or the hearing continues on for a couple of meetings, we run the very real risk of having to approve something by default, which is really not a desirable outcome for anyone. Much better to have it done officially. So having associate members would provide us the opportunity to sort of backfill the ranks here. So, and that would just be for that one topic, for that special permit hearing, to be able to weigh on that so that we wouldn't be in the position of having to, by default, approve a special permit. This is already something that is in place with the Zoning Board of Appeals. There's 3 members on the ZBA, and there are 2 alternates for the same reason, that if one of the members needs to recuse, and that happens a lot in town, because if you're in a butter to an application that's in front of us or the ZBA, you're not allowed to act on that. As an example, my first year on the planning board, we were in the throes of the hearing on the cell tower, and 2 members of the board had to recuse because of being abutters, and we were left with 5 members of the planning board who were able to vote on that. And that hearing lasted over 4 meetings, and so all 5 of us had to show up for all those 4 meetings, could not miss one, and all 5 of us had to vote in favor of it. So that was kind of a bad situation to be in, to have that sort of constraint. It worked out, and it wasn't an approval by default. But that's just a case in point that these things do happen, and there's a reason that we're asking for the ability to appoint 2 associate members so that we can avoid this situation. Planning board members, questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question. Shelley Bradbury. So if a planning board member can only miss one and then read the minutes and rules, and if we go into 4 meetings, 4 hearings, and people can't make it, so you have to designate an associate member, they don't need to, do they need to
Yes,
go for all 5 meetings and study?
Right. Yeah. So this is something that would have to be sort of foreseen. It's unlikely that absences cause this to happen. It's more if you have a butters or conflict of interest. And so if we have a butter or conflict of interest, we know that from the get-go, we'd be able to fill that seat right from the start of the proceedings. It's unlikely that if we do, because ideally you would have 7 people who are able to vote on it, so that if someone does miss a meeting, and if someone misses 2 meetings, you still have 6. So it just gives you a little buffer so that you're never really caught, in a bad situation. But yes, an associate member would need to, in the same way, attend all of the public hearing. And it's just the public hearings that requirement is for. It's not so much any subsequent deliberation. It would be ideal if everyone was there for that, but the requirement, the state requirement, is for the public hearing.
Okay.
Questions, comments? Members of the public, questions or comments on that? Seeing none, we will zip right along to the star of the evening, 3A zoning. So 3A zoning is something that has been around for several years now, and I'm sure everyone has heard a lot about it from other abutting cities and towns around us as they've been grappling with their 3A compliance. When the legislation first came out, Essex was working with MAPC on a bylaw update, And one of the first things they did for us, as soon as the legislation came out, they sort of looked through our downtown district, which is the area in town where multifamily housing is allowed by right. And with the sort of preliminary guidelines that were provided by the state at that point, they reviewed what we had and found that we would likely be in compliance. So because of that, we didn't spend a lot of time on it. To put things in perspective, there are 4 categories of towns or municipalities that the state has designated for this process. And the first 2 are basically MBTA towns, where you have an actual tea facility in your town. And then it's categorized whether you have, it's basically whether you have the tea or whether you have the commuter rail. So those are the 2 categories for towns with tea facilities in it. And then there are categories for towns that are called adjacent to towns with tea facilities. And the 2 categories there are essentially large and small. We are a small adjacent town, which is sort of the lowest category, the lowest bar to meet for compliance. And original models looked at our downtown district and found that we had well more than the number of units that would be required for a town our size. So it appeared that we were easily meeting that, since we already had an area in town that was designated for multifamily housing. As the legislation developed and the evaluation tools were refined, and then we submitted our compliance essentially, and the state came back and said that, well, while we met the number of units easily, we did not meet a density requirement. And so there is also a density requirement as part of the 3A requirements, and that means that what the number is for anyone in the state is 15 units per acre. And the theoretical intent of something like that is that your density would be clustered around a tea facility. We have no tea facility, so for us to have density in a certain area, it doesn't, in a fundamental sense, make sense. However, those are the regulations, and we do not, at this time, meet the density requirement, even though we easily meet the capacity requirement. So we circled back with the MAPC, and they signed on again to help us look again at the downtown district and try to understand what would be the least impactful way to make modifications to what's allowed in the downtown district while not affecting anything else in town, and ultimately meeting this sort of elusive density requirement. So in looking at that, we have, if you will bear with me, I've taken this page out of the article, and I've highlighted some things here because what we're talking about is just this one category. This is a dimensional and density regulations table just for the downtown district, which is essentially Main Street from Western Ave to, I believe, School Street on the other end. In this table, it talks about the different uses. So we have residential, single, and 2-family, which is what's standard throughout town. Then we have residential multifamily, which is unique to the downtown district. We also have categories for business, motel, hotel, industrial class B, and then we also have a category that is unique to the downtown district, which is the mixed use category, which allows both commercial and residential uses in the same building. Again, the downtown district is the only area that's allowed to happen. So what is being proposed to meet the density requirement by MAPC's calculations using the state software that models everything about a property, including the size, the setbacks, the height, parking requirements, to be able to find out what the capacity of any property in town is. So in that process, they determined that if we made 2 changes to residential multifamily, we would then be compliant. So the first change is to change the minimum lot area from 10,000 square feet to not requiring a minimum. So you see 10,000 square feet crossed off and no minimum boldface as the add there. And then in the very last column, or very last row, the original strike through here shows 3 to 4 units as of right. And that would be changed to 3 to 6 units as of right for multifamily. And instead of 5 or more with a special permit, it would be 7 or more with a special permit. So what this does is increases the number of units that could be built on a multifamily property without a special permit. This change is only made to residential multifamily. It is not being made to the mixed-use category, and this is an important distinction that I do want to point out, because in looking at the downtown district and the properties that are there, it is significantly more advantageous for, and this was done intentionally, to encourage commercial development in the downtown district, particularly on the first floor street-facing properties. So I've highlighted here 2 different setbacks. So minimum front yard is the setback of your front yard, and the minimum side yard is the setback of the side yards. The difference between residential multifamily, which is strictly residential, no commercial use, and the mixed use, which includes a commercial use, is substantial when you look at the setbacks. Residential multifamily requires a 50-foot front setback, which is larger than anything else in town, whereas a mixed-use property allows as little as a 7-foot setback. When we look at the side yards, residential multifamily requires a 30-foot setback compared to mixed-use, which only requires a 6-foot side setback. The original intent behind these setbacks was to encourage the mixed use over the multifamily, so that the commercial component would be included in mixed use in multifamily properties. So my point in saying this is that if and when properties do see development in the downtown district, it is still much more likely that a developer or owner or whoever is developing it would pursue a mixed-use property rather than the residential multifamily, because they have an opportunity to use significantly more of the property because of the setbacks. So that is the extent of the change that's being proposed. I do want to emphasize that this is being brought forward as a way to comply with the MBTA requirements, and not because we see a need to make this change in town. The ramifications of a town not meeting the MBTA requirements are substantial. You are immediately denied state funding from, hold on one sec, from a number of programs here. This list was kindly provided to me by Brendan. These are the different programs that we would stand to lose funding from. The ones that are highlighted are the ones we have already used, and the whole list are things that we could potentially use. So we would not see any of this money if we were not compliant. Val Massard, our town planner, has also talked about other towns that have begun to incur fines. So the state is levying fines on towns that are not compliant. And sort of the worst case scenario is if a town remains compliant and doesn't make progress, the state has been talking about coming in and changing the town bylaws to make them compliant without engaging the community in that process. So it would sort of be a unilateral, state comes in and writes what they want you to do, and you will do it. So the reason to encourage compliance is so that we don't lose these funding sources. We're a small town. We can't afford to lose funding, never mind start to pay fines on something. And we have spent some time with MAPC looking at a number of different options and talking about it as the planning board about how to best address this. And what is proposed here for this article, we think, is the absolute least impact to anything in town that will gain us the compliance.
Lisa, Val is raising her hand when it's
okay.
convenient.
Yep. So turn it over to Val then. Can you do that?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great summary. And I just wanted to say two things. One was I just wanted to thank the Massachusetts Housing Partnership for the technical assistance grant that paid for this additional help from MAPC. And I also wanted to mention that this new change also reduces significantly the number of units that could be developed under the MBTA zoning for the town. So you're meeting the density and capacity with a much lower number of potential units, which is another benefit of us having looked back at it.
True. Thanks. I do, now that you mention it, I have another graphic here to put up. And this shows the limits of the downtown district, and the key is
We're not seeing that on full screen. Thank you.
So, do you mind if I take
No.
those out? For the people at home, it takes a moment because we have one computer projecting on the screen here for the people in the room, and then I need to share the screen for the people at home through Zoom. So if you can just be patient with us when we switch between, it just might take a moment.
Can I ask one question based on that last question, which was, sorry,
Who
I
is
should
this?
probably, this is Alva.
Hold just a second.
Wait, we haven't gotten to questions.
We're not at questions yet. Sorry, I'm
That's
not in
okay,
charge
yeah.
here.
No, I know, I can't see who's speaking, so, yeah, we're going to get to questions in a minute. I just want to finish the presentation and then ask the planning board. The graphic that's on, in front of you now is the zoning map of the downtown district. The properties that are in the pale blue, for example, this is Memorial Park here, they're town-owned properties. They do not get included in the count. The blue properties show properties where up to 6 units could theoretically be developed. And then the yellow properties are 5, orange are 4, the purple are 3. So this is the absolute maximum build-out of multifamily if every property was maximized, which is unlikely to happen. But MAPC provided us with this graphic. It will be available with this presentation, and I guess that's it. Planning board members, do you have any questions or comments? Nope. Members of the public in the room, do you have questions or comments? Members of the public online. Teresa, will you help me with this because I can't see anyone?
Yep. If you would like to make a comment, can you either use the raise hand feature or unmute, say your name and address, and then Lisa will recognize you?
Hi, it's Alva, and I don't have a raised hand. Sorry.
So you could just say your name and address.
Alvin Guerrero, 93 Martin Street. I'm also going to call the Board of Selectmen to order. The question I just had is, Lisa, in regards to that acreage, we don't have enough units per acre. I have to ask this is a stupid question, but is that including our unusable land, our waterways, our marsh?
Yes. That's because
So we would never be able to meet that is the point I wanted to think about.
I'm sorry?
We would never be able to meet that if we don't have an acre.
Well, that's because what MAPC is proposing is considering the whole downtown district and making this change, and really the only change is to go from 4 to 6. And the downtown district with that change still meets the density requirement. We talked about trying to carve out a smaller district that might work at, say, 5 or something less, but that becomes problematic in that instead of just including the entire downtown district, which is something that the town's already codified and agreed upon, if we go carving out a sub-district in the downtown district, then we're picking. We're saying, okay, this hunk of town is the ones that are going to be affected by this change while another area is not. And honestly, trying to pick which part of, we talked about this, we looked at different areas of the downtown district and said, what if we took this little chunk of properties or this chunk of properties? And that felt really targeted. In that we would just be pulling one small section of the downtown district out and saying, okay, sorry, you guys are it. So it seemed fairer and more rational to just say this throughout the downtown district. And, you know, honestly, going from 4 to 6, all of the regulations still apply. The only difference is that you're not applying for a special permit, but you still have to meet all the zoning requirements, all the bylaw requirements, all the building code requirements, all the parking requirements. So it's not like anything else has been given relief in this process. So does that help? Val has, sorry, I'm getting the Val signal. Val, do you have something to add to that, please?
I just wanted to clarify that the density calculation actually does not include wetlands or any unbuildable portions of property. So we're compliant,
Okay.
but I just wanted to be clear that because of the model that the state has developed, that type of land is omitted from the modeling in terms of the way the state does the math, and what MAPC is recommending still meets the density requirement.
Okay. So then I apologize, Al, I misstated that. I said the area was a whole downtown district, but it's not the blue properties. It's just the properties that actually can meet the requirements. So the blue properties, or the pale blue properties, like Memorial Park and other town-owned properties and other wet properties back here, those have not been counted in the net area.
Thank you.
Shelley?
Just a question, because I missed this meeting, I was traveling. How does this work with the water apportionment? Like, does this water now have, does it still go to town for a vote?
All the T requirement is proof of zoning compliance. It does not consider any other criteria. It doesn't consider water. It doesn't consider sewer. It doesn't consider septic, nothing like that. It's just your zoning is all they're looking at. So we could very well be limited by sewage capacity for any of these properties as well. So that is not part of the modeling. Val has more to add.
Yes, just briefly that the state doesn't look at infrastructure at all. So you know that you have all those restrictions that Lisa mentioned. And I also just saying it in the opposite way, none of this has to be built. It doesn't have to be literally buildable. It just has to be zoning possible.
Exactly. There's no requirements to actually build any of these units. It's simply capacity. It's just a theoretical capacity for these properties. Any other online questions or comments? Seeing none, we will move along. If I can find where I need to be. Moving to Article 5. At Springtown, annual town meeting in the spring, we did pass a accessory dwelling unit definition here. So what you see in this article is section 4-2.8 for ADUs. Items A, B, and C were added as limitations on ADUs in May at town meeting, and they have since been approved in the form you see here by the Attorney General. This article looks to add a fourth limitation on ADUs, and this is item D in this article, and is legal ownership, and says that accessory dwelling units shall be accessory and not be legally separated or conveyed from their principal dwelling in order to keep the accessory nature of the accessory dwelling unit. What this means in non-bylaw language is that you cannot condo an ADU. You cannot build an ADU in your yard and then sell that separately. Condoing buildings on a property is something that's happening more and more frequently, particularly here in Essex, where we do have the ability to have 2 principal and sometimes 3 principal dwelling units on a property. People can sell the condo rights, and however that's structured with rights to the property and driveways, and have actual different owners for structures on the same lot. So what's proposed here is to not allow that condoing of an ADU, and that an ADU would need to remain in common ownership with the structure to which it is accessory. The reason that we're proposing this is that people have been asking about this, and we would like to bring this to town meeting for their consideration so we can have clear direction one way or the other. The ADU bylaw, or the ADU laws were changed in the state recently to essentially bolster the rental housing stock. There's a lot of other things that are happening to try and just bolster housing stock, but in particularly ADUs were seen as a way to bolster rental housing stock, which is also essential in that not everyone can afford to purchase even a small condo, and renting is a necessary option. So we felt that allowing the town to make this decision and weigh in on whether it was appropriate to allow condoing ADUs or restricting them was something that the town deserved to have consideration. They're both sides. They're two good arguments to this, and we've talked about it at length, and we've looked at both sides of the equation, and we felt it was substantial enough to bring to town meeting and at least let town meeting have the conversation and make the decision. Planning board members, questions or comments? Members of the public in the room, questions or comments? Members of the public online, questions or comments?
Don't see anyone.
All right. Moving on to Article 6. Article 6 proposes 2 changes to definitions in 6-2, and these are definitions that relate to measurements of a building. So building height in Essex has typically been measured, as the definition says here, from the sidewalk or finished grade at the center of the front of the building. And that's what's in strike through. So the height of the building was always measured from that one spot, and that determined the height for the whole building. The rest of the definition, as far as how it's measured to the roof, is left unchanged. What we're proposing to change is where height is measured from. And rather than taking one point, we are proposing that the height of the building is measured from an average existing grade. And that average existing grade is established by finding the elevation or the grade at all corners of the building and averaging them. So what this does is it, bad pun, it levels the playing field so that, sorry, so that you're really, if you have a building on a slope, it's easier to do this by example. If we've all seen a couple of buildings around town, and we had a proposal in front of us for 44 Main Street, and we saw that at Main Street, if you measure 35 feet there, that's a lot that drops off more than 10 feet to the back. So at the back of that building, instead of a 35-foot high building, you could have a 45-foot high building by those regulations. And on the flip side of that, if you look at the new 2-family that's going up across the street from the fire station, and that's built into a substantial hill going up towards the woods there, and the height at the front of that building, if you measure 35 there, by the time you get to the back, you've gone up a story, so you have a much shorter measurement there. So that kind of building would get penalized. So it seems much fair to do this average of the existing grade at all corners of the building. And this is typical throughout the state as a sort of rule of thumb how this measurement is taken, rather than just at the one place at the front of the building. So that's what's suggested with this change. It really is a much more fair way to do it. And then the second change is to provide a clear definition around what a half-story is. And this is fairly self-explanatory by what's being deleted, and then we're adding the boldface, which is essentially a clear definition of what a half-story is. We're making this change because we've run into this a number of times, and when applicants come before us, we don't have a bylaw to point to and say well, this is what is and is not allowed. Making this change will tell both an applicant and the planning board what is a half-story and what is not. Planning board members, questions, comments on that? Nope, we've all talked about this, haven't we? Members of the public in the room, any questions or comments? Ed? You have to come up to the microphone, sorry.
I'd like to just make a quick comment.
Ed Perkins,
I
you have to
think-
do your name and
Ed
address
Perkins,
because we're recording.
66 Story Street.
Thank you.
Have any of you consulted with the fire chief about the height of the ladder? The reason 35 feet was put in was because our old ladder, if you take the horizontal dimension and then the hypotenuse side and the angle that the ladder is at, 35 feet was the safe height that could go. And I know that the building code differs from the town 35-foot. I've been through this with Bill several times. And I think that with the new ladder truck, maybe you people should consult the chief and find out what the actual height could be. I don't know.
Right. We're not proposing to change the height at all. We're still sticking with the 35 feet that's in there. We're just changing, we're just trying to prevent the situation where, like I said, if a lot slopes off, like the lot on 44 Main Street slopes more than 10 feet from front to back. So essentially they could have had a 45-foot tall building there, which is problematic because that would trigger the situation what you're talking about where you wouldn't have access with a ladder to the top of that, to the top floor there from that
Yeah,
side.
if you go by the building code, it could be higher than the ladder is capable of safely functioning. The new ladder may be different, I don't know.
Right. Well, we definitely will check with the fire chief just so that we're able to address that comment on town meeting floor because it's an important thing because that is one of the reasons for height regulations in town. But yeah, but we're actually trying to eliminate a situation where you could have something that's too tall. Because if you measure 35 feet at the front of a building, the lot slopes down, you have 45 feet at the back, and that's a problem. Whereas if you have a lot that slopes 10 feet and then you average those, you're going to be left with something that's 40 feet instead of 35 and 45, you're going to have 40 maximum at the back.
But the state building code allows it to be a lot more than 35 feet.
But we don't. We're not changing that.
I know,
Yeah.
but Bill does. We've been through this several times with the appeals board,
Yeah.
and he is accepting a percentage of height above the 35 feet, which I think should be made as a definite final height unless the ladder truck the new ladder truck is capable of higher, let's say a safe horizontal distance from
Yeah.
the building.
We've actually talked about that, and we're going to bring that up again but not now. We're talk about like an actual maximum height instead of that sort of averaging thing. But that's not, this article was just about the grade, but we will get back to that other issue of height too.
It might be good if you just talk to the fire chief and find
Yeah,
out
no,
what the new ladder truck can do.
I definitely will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Online comments? Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Article 7, speaking of Bill, there's been some confusion recently around signs on roofs. So the change that's proposed here is just to clarify where where roofs are measured with respect to signs, where the roof is, what is considered the roof. So the original language at the bottom of this article here says, signs shall not project above the roof or parapet of a building. And we have a lot of situations where there are signs on roofs, but they're above the roof, but they're not above the ridge of the roof. So to make this clear for both applicants, the planning board, and the building inspector, we are proposing to change the language from the roof or front parapet to what's highlighted here in boldface, the highest point or the ridge of the roof or the top of any parapet of a building, just so that it's clear it's the highest point of the roof, it's not any point on the roof. That's it. Planning board questions, comments? Members of the public in attendance, questions or comments on that? Members of the public online? Seeing none, we will just move right along. Article 8 is another quasi-housekeeping. We're not proposing to change the intent or language in anything. We had several town meetings ago added language to the special permit section that defined the evaluation and decision criteria for a special permit, and this was in the section that specifically addressed the special permits. And so that language is in 6-4.3.1.4. That's evaluation and decision criteria. So the article here proposes to add a reference to this section, both to the definition of a special permit and later in the bylaw in section 6-10 that talks about special permit regulations, just to refer back to this so that it's clear that the special permit evaluation and decision criteria apply to all special permits, not just those that are defined in section 6-4.3, which specifically addresses certain uses for special permits. There are other cases that will require a special permit. For example, in the downtown district, if you have a non-conforming condition that you would intend to increase, not increase the non-conformity, but increase the distance of that non-conforming condition, that requires a special permit. But that's not a use that's listed in the special permit section. So the idea here is just to provide additional references to those decision criteria so that it's clear that they apply to all special permits. That's pretty much it on that. Planning board questions, comments? Members of the public here? Members of the public online? Nope. And last but not least, Article 9. In the downtown district, when we voted on creating the downtown district in 2021, the language in the warrant article had a maximum height of accessory structures as 15 feet. However, when the warrant language got transcribed into the bylaw, it was somehow changed to 25. We don't know how or why. We found the mistake, and this article is to change the 25 that's in there erroneously to the 15 feet height limit on accessory structures that was in the article voted on town meeting on the establishment of the downtown district. So this is a correction. and is consistent with the vote that was taken in 2021 at town meeting. Planning board members, questions or comments? Members of the public here? Members online?
Nope.
That concludes our presentation of the warrant articles that the planning board will be bringing to fall town meeting on November 17th. Before I take a motion to close the hearing, I will open it up one more time for anyone who has comments or questions before we close the hearing and move on to our next order of business. Anyone? All right, I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
I move it.
Thank you, Shelley. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Beth. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. All right, public hearing is over. The planning board will return to the warrant articles just to make sure that we're all in agreement with finalizing them, but we have other business on the agenda that we're going to turn to now and come back to that a bit later on. I don't think we have a lot to talk about. So we have an A&R tonight for King's Court. And we have plans here. And we have an applicant in front of us who's going to please come to the big table and tell us about it.
Yes, my name is Charles Clapp. I have a law office in Hamilton, and I'm representing the Jonathan Knight and Harley Rodriguez, the trustees of the 163 Avenue Trust, and we are just looking to create 3 lots out of 2. It's an A&R plan, so it should, if you look at the plan, it's fairly straightforward, fairly self-explanatory.
I'm sorry?
I said it is fairly straightforward and fairly self-explanatory.
So
Frontage.
I'm sorry, I just want to see if I can bring this up on my screen. I thought I had it.
Got it up here too.
Okay. Okay, so I have it on the screen here, and we have a plan here, just to make sure everyone can see it.
Yeah, so as you can see from the plan that you've kindly put up there, the frontage is there on all 3 lots. The lot size is there. We're really just redrawing the lot lines a little bit and creating an extra lot.
So looking at this, the dashed lines are the existing lot lines, right?
The existing lot lines are dashed, and the hard lines are obviously will be the new lines. The dashed will be removed. We're kind of removing the front bump out. I guess it would be on the west side of the proposed lot 2B, and just straightening that out, and then creating the new lot 3B, kind of on the southern side of the property. We're also going to be combining it. I'm not sure how it happened, but there, if you look up at the, I guess it would be the north side of the lot, there's an odd parcel that will be combined as well with lot 1B. Yeah, that kind of up at the point where Kings meets Southern will be all kind of combined in there.
Okay, so just to clarify, we are creating new lot 1B, new lot 2B, and new lot 3B?
Correct.
And they're getting combined from parcels B?
It's confusing, I agree. They've redrawn
But
it.
you started out and said it was
It's parcel D, let's see, it's parcel D, B, and, is it D?
C. So you have
C, yeah,
C.
correct,
So you have
yeah.
parcel A. So parcel A right now is part of,
Let's see, hold on a second.
So lot 1B will be only 30,944 square feet.
Correct.
which is below our minimum lot requirement. Is that correct? And so
No, it's 40,000 for new, it's 30,000 on a road that existed before 1976.
so even though this is going to be a new lot because the road is older, it still is considered that lower amount?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the 40,000 is when they're new roads.
I thought it was new parcels. So that's good to know.
Well, we can, let's clarify that because I thought it was.
I think you have the know-how usually.
I like her answer better, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Oh, yeah, no, it's hard. It's not much better when you have the paper in front of you.
So, yeah, it does say, so if we look at 6-3.3.4.7, which is the dimensional and density regulations for the general use district where this lives, note A, at the minimum lot area square feet, it's 40,000 square feet for residential, single, and two-family. Note A says, lot area for land on a street in existence on June 7th, 1972 is a minimum of 30,000 square feet.
Check.
No, but good to check that. So then Lot 1B is combined,
With
so-
parcel D, yeah. to give it a little
so,
bit more.
yeah, so Lot 1B is getting parcel D,
Correct.
and it's also getting parcel C,
Part of
which
parcel
is getting
C,
carved
right?
off.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have the frontage on Southern, is that?
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of frontage on Southern and then Kings is for the new lot that's being created, 3B has.
I'm sorry?
I said there's frontage on Kings Court for 3B as well, and on Southern too, I guess.
For,
Lot 3B.
okay, so 3B is, the frontage requirement for 3B is met on King's Court, you're saying?
Well, and it also has frontage on Southern as well, because the lot goes through the whole,
Right.
both ways. I said it cuts all the way across.
3B, but 3B doesn't have the minimum frontage on Southern.
No, but it does on Kings, is what I'm saying.
Right, yeah, so
I'm
it
sorry.
doesn't matter, yeah, as
Yeah.
long as you have frontage on one road. So that's at 10, 28, 27, 30. It's gonna make me get my calculator out, isn't it? We've got 10.6.
I was told by the surveyor it met all the
Yeah,
requirements.
but it's,
I'm assuming they know what they're
doesn't
talking
count,
about.
10.62. 28. 28.44. 27.73. 30.38. 19.38. 7.14. 34.13. And 2.18. 188. There we go. So we do have frontage. We do have frontage for 3B on Kings Court. We do have frontage for 2B on both. So 2B is,
2B only has frontage on Southern.
okay, so what is this other piece on Kings Court? What is this on Kings Court?
I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah,
Do you mind if I-
no, please come up. I mean, we can share this microphone.
Yours is bigger than mine, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
So let's see. This is, right. I
Yeah,
apologize,
so,
yeah.
just because we're being recorded.
Yeah, of course, of course. So, and yeah, this is all gonna be, right? This is part of hold on, what are we doing here?
This looks like 3B here,
3B here, parcel, yeah, and
2B here. But I'm not clear on what this is.
I thought 2B was that, the big dotted line, the triangle line.
The triangle's being removed.
Well, isn't 2B this? So this is, because it would make sense.
2B
it's
is right
drawn
here.
Right along the.
No, because we have to
driveway.
do an easement through here. So this is a lot line. This is 2B here. And then this, I think these are conforming. I think this is a pre-existing anyway. Right? And this might be part of this road over here, if I'm not mistaken.
2B is accessed by Kings Court currently.
Currently, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. So there's a current easement there, and then we have to tweak it because we're changing this lot line here. Which I don't,
This is going away and becoming.
right, well, it makes sense because there's a
Yeah.
building sitting on top of the lot line, which is, and then this, I believe, let's see.
But if this is your frontage, this isn't meeting your setback.
That's
your front
pre-existing,
setback.
but that's pre-existing
Not the way
non-conforming.
the lot's currently configured.
So your concern is that but this building's been here for, I think, a long time. I mean.
It has been, I'm just-
Pre-72 anyway, right? So I don't think, and I think the thought might be to move this, but I don't know. I mean, but we're not talking about zoning, we're talking about planning, right? I mean, and I think these lots all compliance.
When you do an A&R, it does need to meet zoning. The structures don't need to meet zoning in that, if there's an existing dwelling and you're not, like, if you made this lot line too close here, we could say no.
Right.
But where it's already against an existing street, it's an existing house. and-
Yeah, we're not changing that line, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I guess my question is if
We-
theoretically you're gonna keep that driveway, but then say you don't, then you have a driveway coming, you're getting a curb cut off Southern, and you would have your frontage on Southern, which is what you're saying, that's your front lot line.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're saying 9.5, 9.4 off
Well-
Southern is acceptable?
I mean,
It wouldn't be for new.
yeah, no, I agree. It's pre-existing non-conform, I mean, that's the way I would view it. I mean, it predates zoning and he's, but yeah, I mean, I think I mean, to be honest, they're bringing everything in this way. They don't want to take down the fence and do anything there, but I understand your concerns. But they're not looking to, I mean, we can't move the road, we can't move the house, I don't think.
Well, you can't move the road.
I don't think so.
I guess when you do an A&R, does everything have to meet
No,
car setbacks? Just the new lot lines have to meet?
the new,
setbacks?
any new, you can't draw a new lot line.
We might- yeah,
Right,
I mean,
but
it's-
an existing lot line that you're not changing if it's not, I mean, because this isn't conforming either.
Right, and but, I mean, the new lots are conforming due to lot size and frontage, right? I mean, I think that's what we're.
And setbacks, so, I mean, we would want to look and make sure that this shed is also 15 feet, and it looks like that's been the intent here.
Yeah, I would agree.
'Cause what are we for, yeah, accessory setback.
Is there a scale? Yeah, I assume Adam put a scale on this. Yeah, I mean, if
So that's a 10 feet, yeah.
yeah, because
you-
that's
you've
10,
got
yeah,
that.
we got that.
But,
I think he didn't want to muddy up the plan too much. I mean, because it's already kind of a,
so we have 20 feet here for.
what's that?
There's like 27 initial lots on here.
We're looking at it like, 8 by 11, you're like, oh my God. It's but I think it's just, I think it was muddy before they got involved and it's muddier now. But I mean, I do think Donahoe knows what they're doing and I think these do comply. I think they met with someone and kind of ran through it. I'm not sure who.
So
That's what I was told when I showed up.
Okay, so, looking at this closer, this is Lot 1B. This is all Lot 1B,
Correct.
okay.
And this is the lot line that's being eliminated. So the dash is being eliminated. So this is one
Well,
big.
no, because that broad dash is an easement. So this is, this.
No, this is the easement, this narrow one.
No, the dotted line is the driveway. The easement is the heavy line because the.
Oh, okay, I'm
the
sorry.
lot- The lot
Oh, you're
line-
right, it's gravel driveway, you're right,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
The
I'm
lot
sorry.
line that's being eliminated
Or the narrow
is this
dash,
different
correct,
dash.
yeah.
It's a smaller dash.
The small dash, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking
Yeah,
right
so
here,
this
too.
is the lot line that's being eliminated in lieu of this lot line.
So we're gonna have
essentially.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, this is lot 1B with an easement over it to get to this lot.
Correct.
So my only, this is really, so this house doesn't front on Kings at all. It fronts on Southern,
That's my understanding, yes.
although they have an easement
They are
here
gonna have an easement, yeah.
to get out. So-
Right, they have an easement now, and then
Right.
we'll have to draft a new easement to bring it in over this little nook here. But I mean, it doesn't matter.
So our single-family rear lot line, rear setback is 30 feet.
Wouldn't the rear be back here, though?
I don't know, that's my question, what's the rear here? Because this is your access, because obviously.
So you're saying, but I mean, your frontage, you go, I mean, my understanding is you go off frontage, not off access for setbacks, right?
Well, but if this is your frontage,
Correct.
that means that's your rear,
Correct.
and our rear
But I
is
don't-
30.
Right, but I don't think you're making the conformity any worse, because there's no, like, I mean, we're not changing that one. I mean, it's not, if it's 20 here, it's 20 there.
That is existing, this is new.
So you're saying because this,
Well, if you're gonna call this the front, then that becomes the rear, and then drawing a line that's.
but I
20
also
feet-
feel like, not to get into semantic,
No,
but if we, is our front, like, is the house facing this way, or is it facing
know,
that way?
that's-
I mean,
because
like,
it's-
I would argue it
This
faces,
this line goes away though, right? This lot 2B is all of this.
no.
I would say your rear
No,
frontage
this-
is
this-
here.
This is lot two.
2B, why is lot 2B saying that that's an easement lot? Oh, so this is the new lot 2B right here?
Yeah,
I'd say your rear setback's here.
That's a new lot?
this is the new lot.
Solid
We need some
lines.
colors.
See, just
Like, no joke.
Parcel B originally belonged with that
existing.
house.
But if you're worried about the frontage up here
I'm not
being
worried
too,
about the frontage.
I understand, but if you
I'm worried about
were,
the rearage,
wouldn't this be the rearage back here and not, this would be a side yard setback?
which is why I'm posing this question, because it's up to the.
So you're not
planning
asking me.
board. No. You're
asking them, fair enough.
Well, we're here to have the discussion.
No, I understand. I think this is, I think side, rear, front. But I'm also paid to advocate for that.
Right, yeah, and we're paid to
Review
ask
it.
the hard questions.
We're not paid.
We're not paid. Wait a minute.
Civic pride. I mean, I think this is, the house faces this way, this is the rear, side would be my,
Right, but the
inclination.
other, like, your access is through here, has been through here, and will
but
continue
the
to be.
access doesn't,
Which,
I mean, frontage is one, I mean, frontage, hence the term front.
right,
Your frontage is, that's the front, where you face the road, not where you access it.
Proposing solutions, but if this line came back 10 feet, then you meet here. And this is what? This is another lot, right?
it's part of this lot.
It's all one.
Oh,
This is,
I mean,
That line there, Matt, that you just traced, yeah, that one there,
Yep.
if that moved to get you your rear setback, it would solve
but
it.
I don't think that's a rear setback. I really do think that's a side setback.
Yeah.
And you don't need the square footage for this lot.
but you do need the square footage for this
We
lot, because
do
if
for
you
that.
take off more than 944,
Oh,
then
right,
it gets,
then you're,
because you use it.
I mean, I think, ultimately, this is a side, this is a side, this is a front, and this is a back. And that's, because your frontage is on Southern, your frontage is on Kings Court. your access may be, but access is irrelevant for frontage. I mean, hence the term frontage. Front
Right.
denotes where do you, front of the house faces the frontage.
Yeah, none of that's a concern. The concern is, this is a new lot line.
I understand, but that's
So
a
that-
side, that's a
that-
side.
But per our regulations, that should meet, that should not, this
Well,
existing
but
building
it
should not
meets the
violate.
side- It meets the side setbacks. Doesn't meet the rear setback. And
We're arguing because
we're arguing if this is a side or a back.
Right.
And I think I would argue this is a side setback, this is the rear setback, that's the other side, and that's the front setback. Because the house fronts on Southern, and that's where it gets its frontage from. For what it's worth.
I know, you're paid to, you're doing,
I don't mean to.
yeah, no, we just,
Jonathan would be proud.
What's that?
Jonathan would be proud.
I mean, the overall intent is that there's 3 dwellings on this area. And you're trying to create a compliant lot for each dwelling.
Compliant lot for each. I mean, they're not looking to reinvent the wheel here. I mean, they're
No.
not, we're not putting a cluster development in here. We're not going into wetlands. I mean, we're trying to make 3 nice lots, and that's it. And that's, it's a mess
Yeah.
as it's currently
yeah, because
constituted.
this is,
I was looking at it and trying to think like how you draft these, and like why this was done, and the amount of plan on top of plan on top of plan. I mean, these are straight lines, and I know surveyors like straight lines, and I like straight lines because I think it makes more sense just to have straight lines. I'm not sure what this, I think there was a proposal to put a building there originally in previous plans, and that's why there was like a push out like that. And it just kind of muddies it, because now we got to redo all this. So this is a nice, clean, straight line, and I know when I spoke.
I read in the file that this has been previously before the board, and is this the exact same thing that was approved, or there's differences?
I'm late to the party on that. I don't know if it's been before the board before. I know there are multiple
I can grab the file so you can compare the plan if you like.
No, I don't need to, I was just curious. I thought it
was-
said
it was-
that it had been, something had been approved.
2020.
It was very, very similar
I know
idea
there've been
and concept, but I
previous
can't
iterations of
confirm.
the plan. So this is the unrecorded one, so this is what we're dealing with now. And then there've been, I think this is what it currently is with the bump outs and everything like that. Right? But that was the subdivision plan, and there was, I mean, and then this is the original.
Subdivision plan.
No. A&R, sorry. What? Wrong terminology, sorry.
well, it's A&R is a kind of subdivision.
It's a something plan. And then, yeah, this is the original. So I think this is the one that we're dealing with now. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't print it in color, but you can see the bump out and everything like that. And I think there was a note on there that to be shed created or something like that in that bump out, which I don't think they ever did.
Right, but I mean, this is what they want to do now, so.
That's what they want to do now, so,
Do you want to see what we're?
No, I was just curious if it.
it exists. There are multiple versions of the different plans, but, yeah, I mean, I do think that's a side yard setback, because I think that's the frontage, like I said, but I defer to the board and their judgment.
While they're looking, could you clarify your name? I wasn't able to understand you.
Charles, and last name's Clapp, C-L-A-P-P.
Thank you.
Yep.
So if I'm going to be a total geek about it, this is a smaller angle than that, which would mean that this is more front-facing than that is front-facing. So then I would agree that if we were going to call something the front of the house, call that the rear of the house, and the side. Simply because this is
It's a large,
closer to Southern than that is looking at it angle-wise. That's all I got from the engineer.
I like it though. Why wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, because
Seems like it makes sense to me, right?
it's just like he says, yeah.
But I do think if you look at this, the building, the longest edge does face Southern Ave, which is the frontage, right? I mean, well, and
I don't,
longer,
it's, the length of it doesn't matter, I'm just talking about which is.
the
more-
angle,
is
yeah,
more-
I understand.
More facing, more directly facing than another. Because there wouldn't be any arguing what's front and
No.
back here.
Absolutely not.
But this is existing, this setback is,
My thing is when you drive by, it looks like this is the rear.
Well, there's a patio
When you drive
back
down
here.
Southern, it looks like that's the rear.
That is, yeah, there is a big patio. Well, it's because it is the rear, because it's all the driveways on the front, but.
No, it's behind a fence, you don't really see it all that much, right?
yeah, exactly, I mean, there's a huge fence here anyway, so.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's a nice room.
I always look left, so I never even look behind that fence.
So this setback is fine.
Which is
really
cute. And they planted some
'cause what we have to look at the setback.
No, I understand.
And then this
Is the
is
new lot line, so that would be side, that's an accessory dwelling,
Correct.
accessory unit.
Yep.
Building.
Building, yep. No, it's late.
What do you, what do you guys think?
I think it's hard when you look at existing chaos. I think this is chaotic for an A and R, but I don't think that there's anything completely objectionable, I guess, is my take.
I mean,
I don't know how everyone else feels.
These two setbacks here, because what we need to look at is the new lot line. So this lot line is a side setback and this lot line is a side setback here. They meet our side setbacks. This one is pre-existing. This side setback meets our requirements. And so, because what we have to look at is where they're drawing new lot lines and as
Right.
long as the new lot lines are, have the proper setbacks from the building. So there's an adequate setback here from an accessory structure to the lot line. The shed was also, because it's just 10 feet there, so that all worked, so. It's chaotic, what do you guys think?
Sure, so what are we calling front now? Front is,
We're saying this is the front,
this is the front, okay.
Because
This is
it's-
the rear.
yeah.
This is the rear back here, and these would be the side, yeah.
Yeah,
The
so this is the
side.
side and that's the side. So this and that, which are dimensions to new lot lines, meet a side setback. And the only reason I'm saying this is because it does front on Southern Avenue. That's all the frontage they have. They don't front, even though there's an easement to Kings Court, there's not frontage on Kings Court. So if this is the front of the building, and I'm saying, I'm picking the front of the building just because it's more facing Southern Avenue than that side is. Because it was built 130 years ago or whatever. When- so, what do you think, Shelley?
I don't know, I would like a second opinion of somebody looking at this.
Well, I guess my question would be, if it's not an A and R plan, what would we be seeking zoning relief from?
It is an A&R plan.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So
it's
so
an A&R
it's,
plan. The only thing we're talking about is whether this is side or rear, because
Right.
everything else meets. It's an A&R plan, there's no subdivision here.
right.
There isn't a second opinion on it?
It's us.
Yeah. We're the authority.
As much as I would love to see this line, just follow that and then shoot back, so whatever you have to do to get your square footage. There's already an easement running through all that, so therefore I don't have an issue with it.
Is there a well anywhere? Are there any wells on here that are close to the line? That one, that one.
There's well here.
Yeah.
Because the well has to be 15 feet from a lot line.
But this isn't a lot line.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're removing that lot line.
Yeah, okay.
And that one, we're not creating a new one there either.
This is a new lot line.
I guess,
Yeah, it is, because the lot
Okay.
line was here.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's a new lot line, but that's,
Is that 15 feet? Do you remember John Guerin when he did A&R and they had to redo it because it was along the lot line
Yeah.
and it
Yeah,
has to
10.
be 15 feet?
that's
It's gonna
probably,
be right there.
it's probably why,
That line's where it is.
yeah, it's probably why the line is where it is, because this is 35.3 and they would be allowed to bring that to 20, because they have enough property here.
Right.
But yeah, so that's, And then this is also, so these are the 3 wells.
What were you thinking, Shelley? If you push this lot line over to keep the square footage here,
Well,
push
you
it as
can't.
far as you can, well,
You
yeah.
can't.
You run into the well, right? Yeah,
That's what you were saying, that's what you were asking about.
Yeah.
I mean, what Peter's saying is to draw that, but like you said, it's in an easement anyway, and this is this person's this is the driveway that they're gonna use, and this property owner isn't gonna use anything in that easement anyway.
Right, so. No, their driveway's over here, right? It is.
So that's pretty much the frontage.
Hey, I thought we solved that.
It's the de facto frontage, but we have to do the de jure frontage. So, what do you think?
I think it's fine the way it is.
You good?
I concur.
Concur.
I
So I will take a motion to accept the A and R and to sign it.
Endorse.
Endorse it.
So moved.
Accept it. Thank you. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do we have our happy little pens?
Yes, we do.
Do we just have one copy?
Yeah, you have to sign.
Is there one copy?
That one, I don't know. Yes,
Do
because
you
the
have more
town
copies?
clerk, no, the town clerk.
I do not have more copies.
Town clerk kept one.
I just told her to be Mylar.
Yeah, we have the
We've got the
Mylar.
Mylar.
Do you guys need?
No, we'll sign the Mylar, you take the Mylar, but we need copies.
Yeah, I don't need that. That's fine.
We don't.
We can print more if we need it.
Line up and sign.
Do we need 3 copies? Oh, we did.
So the third one is for the town clerk, and there was an extra one last time, so we're good.
Yeah, so she already has her copy.
She has her
If she
copy.
wants it signed, we can
Then,
do that later.
correct, but she doesn't need that.
What else we got? Sorry that got chaotic, John. It's just. Hmm? Yep. Shelley? Thanks. Thank you. You get the Mylar?
Yes, I will. You know how, is that dry? Should I let that dry? Pardon my ignorance.
It's usually dry right away.
Yeah, it'll, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
It's a Sharpie, it's an indelible, so it should be okay. It shouldn't need a whole lot. Thank you. You can tell them you earned your pay tonight. So picking back up on board discussion, going over the articles, do we have anything to talk about? Any changes? I don't think we had anything. Brendan's suggestion about reading the first two articles together is good. We'll do that on the floor. I'll talk to the moderator about that. Other than that, I think we're.
Talk to the fire department.
I will talk to him, but that's not going to change anything here. It's just sort of saying we checked in, and so as long as I do that before town meeting, but don't let me forget. We're not going to vote on them tonight. We're going to vote 3 weeks from tonight. So this October is a 5 Wednesday month. And so we'll be voting 3 weeks from tonight at our next meeting. Administrative assistant report.
Yep. Two correspondence items I just want to bring to your attention. One sort of started at the last meeting with the 2023 minutes that were requested there. It turns out that wasn't actually necessary after all because the permit had expired. But just as a heads up, the applicant is trying to move this process along, and it looks like it's going to become a site plan review for the board. Bill hasn't triggered it yet in the system because he's waiting on a couple other permissions, but did say for the applicant to move ahead with the paperwork and that sort of thing. What I don't know right now, and it's not included in there, is whether there's a change of use involved. I don't think that's the case, and I therefore don't think there's a public hearing that has to come with that, but one or the other, or well, with or without, will be coming your way for 166 Eastern Ave. And then the other one is just to bring to attention 28 John Wise Lane that we're getting. I'm getting correspondence requests from the owner, but Val, and then you also got
Which John Wise Lane or the other house?
John Wise Lane, 28 John Wise Lane.
What's happening there?
So it appears that the owners are looking to potentially sell, and the correspondence that I received at the planning board office was that they're thinking about selling and have had interest from a few parties, but they do not want it to be further developed. And so they want to understand what the full limitations on the land are as it exists right now. And so they contacted the planning board office and the Conservation Commission. So part of my reply was make sure you talk to the building inspector, because he'll be able to see not just from those two boards, but the big picture of what's allowable. That came in shortly after there was a request from someone else about the property who was interested in the property, wanting to understand whether they could subdivide the property. So
That's a separate property.
is it a separate property?
So 28, we'll look at them both here. So I have it up on the map here. So this property here is 28 John Wise Lane, which is all the way at the end of this little road that goes down between the golf course, if you know that little road, and it's at the very end here. There are 3 principal dwellings on it already, 3 sort of camp cottages. If people are wanting to subdivide that property, they're not going to be able to, because John Wise Lane is a road you don't even really want to walk down. Never mind drive down, never mind drive a tanker truck down. That's not to say that it couldn't someday be brought up to standards, but that's not the case now. So the likelihood of an actual subdivision is slim. This property, someone could buy it and they could condo the 3 buildings. That doesn't even come before us. It doesn't even come before the building inspector. That just gets done. So I did send an email to the owner, and I didn't have a chance to talk to him today, but I'm going to talk to him tomorrow and say, really, there are not a lot of regulations that we have that are going to control what can happen there. And if he wants to do anything, he's better served by hiring a lawyer and putting whatever deed restrictions he wants on the property. We can't tell someone that they can't condo it, because anyone could buy that and condo the 3 buildings, and that's totally legal. Even though it could not be subdivided today, if someone came and improved John Wise Lane and made it actually passable 12 months of the year, then yes, you could subdivide it, because they do have frontage that would allow that, I think. But
So I'm sorry for conflating those, for mashing those two together. Could you forward me that reply, because I don't have that here?
my reply?
Just so I have
Yeah,
that for the file.
I just, because I didn't have his email, I just reached out to him, but I will.
Gotcha.
So is that, this is just a point of curiosity.
Yeah,
So 14.6 acres, that's just the upland?
no, that's the whole
That's the
thing.
whole thing?
Yeah, that, because this is the whole property, and they count all the marsh in the 14.6. So the actual upland is much smaller.
It's all marsh.
This is all marsh out, yeah, this is all marsh out here. Sorry, Joan. Yeah, so it's really just the area that's already been built on that is accessible.
Okay, so he's been responded to, and I don't have to do anything further on that?
I will talk to him, and then I'll copy you on an email on that.
Okay.
I had just reached out to him because my answer is basically the planning board does not have a lot of oversight over things that could happen. His concerns about what could happen on the property aren't things that we regulate. He says that one of his points was his understanding is that you couldn't subdivide, that each property needs to have its own well, and that's very true, but there's nothing stopping someone from drilling 2 more wells on there either, so, that's not a limitation at all. A developer's not gonna see that as an obstacle. But, if someone came to us to subdivide it, it would be a hard no, because this road is, it's a nightmare. It goes through the golf course, and the golf course essentially considers it closed 6 months of the year. Like, it's not, these are summer homes down here essentially, so it's not passable really in the winter. It's not plowed, it's not maintained or anything like that, so. Anyway, the other property was this one at 189 John Wise Ave, which is under agreement. And this is the one that people who have it under agreement were asking about doing an A&R and making 2 lots out of it, which they couldn't really do because they don't have the frontage here on John Wise Ave. But that's not to say that you couldn't go in here and build a second house on it, because we do allow two. So it's 2.35 acres, which does not quite hit the 110,000 that you need for 3 dwellings, but they definitely have the 70,000 that you need for 2 dwellings. So they could easily have a common driveway and put a second house on this property. So, but they wouldn't be able to subdivide it. And they probably wouldn't want to subdivide it anyway, because it's a state highway, and if you created a new driveway cut on a state highway, it's just a lot harder. It's a lot harder to do it through the state than it is to do, it's not impossible, but it's a whole different thing than going to our DPW at Centennial Grove and asking for a curb cut, so, anyway, so that was that one there.
And then the only other thing was standard people wondering what zone they're in for their, whatever it is they're working on. And we get that pretty regularly. And request for minutes. So just as a reminder, the website migration didn't carry everything over that we had really nice and tight on there. So if anyone comes to you and says they can't find minutes, I do still have the searchable PDFs of everything. I can send it out in 1, 5, or 10-year chunks, but it's a time issue.
Yeah, it's just
We'll get there.
uploading it all.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just not there yet
Yep.
because of the new website.
And then just you have minutes from October 1st.
So
Lisa,
when
before
you
you-
talk about what zone people are in while we're here, just as a heads up for you guys. This GIS database is what the assessors use. In here, if you see where my cursor is, like in the information that assessors can enter in the GIS database, there is a line for zoning, and it says RS2 right here. That doesn't mean anything, because the GIS software has a spot for zoning for every other town that actually has zoning, and our assessors use it as a placeholder for how they consider. So they actually consider areas of town when they're doing assessments, but they're not official. So other people who are looking to buy property or something like that will come in and see this and see that it says zoning, oh, I'm in RS2, so I must be in a residential zone. But it's the assessor's shortcut or the shorthand here, it's not a real zone. Just so you guys are aware, if people ever ask you like, oh, but it says I'm in RS2, it's like, well, actually, no, you're not. But that's why people think we have zoning when we actually do not.
And importantly, they then look into the bylaws and can't find where their zone is. They can't find RS2, and that's when they call or email.
Any comments on the minutes? Nope. Take a motion to approve minutes?
So moved?
Thank you, Peter. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Beth. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Lisa, could you just tell me where we are on the OSRD? I know we voted for the,
Special permit.
yeah, special permit, and so now they're going to come back with, could you just?
Yeah, they're working on their design. They're working on their design, and Teresa has started to put together sort of a document that's going to have timeline and checklist for us as far as, and I'm overdue in giving her my feedback on it, but what we're trying to do is sort of have a guide document for us, for them, for whoever, because we have to coordinate with the Conservation Commission, apparently not with the Board of Health, because we can approve the definitive subdivision plan contingent on septic approval. We don't need to have the septic approval but we need to have the NOI from the Concom before we can approve it, in case that affects the layout anyway. The septic thing is remote and wouldn't affect the layout of the subdivision. So that's what we're trying to just is line up all these moving parts so that we don't miss anything, so that we get in touch with the other boards and committees and departments. You know, we need input from fire and police and that kind of thing. So we're trying to put together a document that we can use and that the applicant can use as far as our timeline goes.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it not only great, essential, because this is, it's confusing on a lot of levels and there's a lot of moving parts on this. The other thing is that we may, depending on their timing, they're going to be submitting their definitive plan materials sometime in the next several weeks, say. What happens is that we will be accepting those at one of our meetings. So that will sort of start the clock at one of our meetings. And then immediately Weston and Sampson will get working on it. Because the goal is, because we have to have a public hearing on a definitive subdivision plan, but that's not going to be the first thing that happens. We'll get the plan, we'll look at it, we'll work with Weston and Sampson, we'll coordinate with the other departments so that when we get to the public hearing, I want to be able to, at the public hearing, say, this is what our peer reviewer has found, this is what this board has said, this is what this department has said, so that at the public hearing, we're able to present a fairly comprehensive review of it at that time. We don't want to have a public hearing and say, well, we just started looking at it, you know, so that's the timeline. But from the time we get it, when we get it, then we'll schedule that out, and we have to do the whole advertising of the public hearing and a butter notification for something like this again, as we already did for the OSRD, but we do all of that again. So there's a lot of boxes to check.
Found them.
So, anything else?
Yep, flip over your agenda.
I have to find it first. Committee updates. Anything? No items anticipated by posting deadline?
We have no public left.
Okay. Public comment? The public has left us?
They're gone.
Okay. They all bailed? Look, we have gotten to the adjourn line.
I'll
So
jump
moved.
at once.
I'm making a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.